I don't think that all season long we've had a show centered around Demarcus Lawrence. And you know what? He deserves a show. And tonight we'll talk about Dan Quinn's perfect description of him. And we'll talk about Dan Campbell's big praise for D Law as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to it. And also, Lyle Collins is back. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Prime Time. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday through Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central here on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network with a lot more content coming your way. Make sure that you check out atozsports.com/Dallas. And as always, do me a favor and hit the like button if you enjoy the show. It is a Tuesday night. Welcome. It's a great night to talk some Cowboys football. And tonight, I'll show you the rundown very quickly. We're going to talk a little bit about Demarcus Lawrence. You know, he's making some plays out there at such a consistent basis that it is crazy. And I think that both Dan Campbell and Dan Quinn had excellent comments to make about number 90 of the Cowboys defense. So that's what we will start the show with. Later, we're going to talk about the news of the day. We're going to talk about Lyle Collins being back in Dallas. Not going to lie, that one makes me happy, and we'll get into why later on the show. We'll also talk about Dalvin Cook, who is available, running back, former Minnesota Viking, signed with the Vikings, with the New York Jets, and then that didn't work out. And now they're out of the contention. So he waived his guarantees. They cut him. And now he's available and people want him in Dallas. We'll talk about it. I'm not sure where I fall in that conversation. I've seen people fighting on Twitter about it as per usual. And I have mixed feelings about it. We'll discuss it. And then it is Tuesday. So that means we're going to have the one cool thing, right? Later on the show, but we'll get to all that. First and foremost, guys, let me say hi in the comments. We've got Toxic Tom here in the YouTube chat. We've got Tom and 915. We've got Gregory. We've got Luis Angel. Welcome into the show. Let's see who else. Who else do we have here? We've got Justin. We've got Katharina, Joe. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the show. So let's get it started. Let's talk a little bit about Mr. Demarcus Lawrence. When I wanted to start talking about him was when I saw what Dan Campbell had to say. Because you know I had to tune into the Dan Campbell presser, and I tuned into it because of the two-point conversion stuff. I wanted to know what he said on Monday. But then I caught some very, very nice surprises, some compliments to the Cowboys defense and to the Cowboys offense. And I was particularly happy with what he said about D-Law because I think he's so right about it. Let me read you the quote. I was going to make you a cute graphic and everything with the quote, but I'm going to be honest, I ran out of time for a moment there. They've got two of the best ends in the league, said Dan Campbell. One of them is, I think, the best rusher in the league, and that is Parsons. And the other, Lawrence, you cannot slip on this guy. And I don't think any of us, meaning the Lions, slept on him. But people forget he is a complete defensive end. He plays the run. He's stout. He's explosive. And he can rush the passer. So you got those two, is what Dan Campbell said about D-Law and, of course, about Micah. And I don't know. It got me thinking because, I strongly believe that D-Law is lately not giving us a whole lot of room to forget about him. But I'm going to tell you right now, Cowboys fans forget about D-Law. When Dan Campbell says people forget about him, he might be thinking about like NFL coaches and NFL players or maybe even the media. But I'm here to tell you that Cowboys fans forget about D-Law consistently. And I thought it was a good opportunity to talk a little bit about all that he brings to the table, which I think is a lot. And when you look at the Cowboys' run defense woes, we've talked about them a lot here on the show. because obviously it's on everybody's minds. You talk about the success rate, and it's very low. It's one of the lowest in leagues. And success rate basically just measures if a play is positive for an offense or not. And then for a defense, you just flip that. And the Cowboys are, or at least they were 32nd in the league before week 17. I have not checked how much the numbers have changed, but that's how bad they were. They were dead last in the league before week 17. You look at EPA, which measures, which puts more of a weight on plays. So if you make a big play, if you strip somebody from the ball and you get it and it's a turnover, then it's a much better play than just a usual third down stop or a usual first down stop. Whereas with success rate, it is basically the same play. EPA puts a weight on them, right? In EPA, the Cowboys are not that bad. They are at around league average, which is still not great, but it's a much better run defense when you look at it through that. And we've talked about why that could be. And you look at the Cowboys defense, and anecdotally, it has a lot to do with tackles for loss. It has a lot to do with turnovers, which is obvious, but also just like those third down or goal line situation stuffs that the Cowboys can make. And we've talked a lot about some of these plays. Like, for instance, we had this clip from the Miami game where you see D-Law just basically blowing up two blockers. He blocks the first, I think it's a tight end. I don't remember, but if we find a clip, I actually have it over here, I believe, but it's going to be the second play, not the first one. So you're going to see Raheem Mostert here have an efficient run, move the chains and all that. But then you're going to see D-Law here. And yeah, it's the fullback and the tight end. Look at the fullback and the tight end. Both are going to go. Oh, this is the same play. Duh. All right, blooper moment. Okay, here it is. It's still the fullback and the tight end, so it makes sense. Look at D-Law on the top of the left tackle. He gets the tight end thrown his way, the fullback as well, and he just eats them up, right? The two of them and the Cowboys get the stop. We're going to see it from the end zone now. And, this is just an example. Versus the Lions, you had this moment where D-Law just basically slips by the blocker because he knows which gap he's attacking, which gap he's jumping. And he has like that special nose for when to take those kind of risks. And we saw it in the Texans game last year. And I know I'm going back to the Houston game last year, but that play in the goal line where he just blasts through the offensive line into the backfield to make the stop, that's the kind of play that really tells you who Demarcus Lawrence is. But why should I be telling you about this when Dan Quinn talked about him on Monday, and I believe he had the perfect way of describing it. And I'm going to read you the exact quote. He says, I got to think a good bit of it, and it is his instincts to do that. Here's a veteran player who's seen a lot of football, and sometimes, like you've seen us talk about a quarterback, when you talk about a quarterback, he's seen all the pressures, he's seen all the looks. It's hard to fool him. It's hard to change a coverage where he hasn't seen some things. On the flip side, for a player that's played as much football as Demarcus has, it is hard to get him. He has a sense for where it might be going, and in short yardage, there is a term that we use when we go take a shot. That means you have information that you think you can go make a play. It's not just, hey, I'm just going to run out of my gap or do something. Shout out Troy Polamalu. I added that. Taking a shot is when I have all the information. I think this play is about to happen, and then you go make it. He has that in spades, is what Dan Quinn said about Demarcus Lawrence. And I think it makes a whole lot of sense. You talk about instincts, and a lot of times you're talking about an off-ball linebacker that just makes a tremendous job getting through blockers and reading through traffic and making plays. But you can also talk about it when you are discussing a defensive end as complete as D-Law, right? That instinct part of it, against the run especially, is very clear on tape. It is much more clearer when you're talking about the run game from D-Law than the pass rushing game, because the pass rushing game, and obviously there's a lot of nuance to it, right? All of the counter moves and all of the toolbox elements to it. But when you talk about the run game, I think it's much more about the instincts and knowing what's coming. Whereas when you're rushing the passer, it's just like the same over and over again. Sure, you're going to play a game of chess there. You're going to go inside and you're going to go outside here, and you're going to do the club. You're going to do the swim here. You're going to change it up, sure. But with the running game, there's just a lot that can happen. There's a lot that the offense can do. They can have pulling linemen towards you. They can reach block you. They can drive block you. They can do all of that. And Dan Quinn also said, knowing when to take a shot is really important, because if you just go crazy and think of a linebacker running through a gap and it's a play pass, it just didn't do any good. But when you know that the play is coming and you're able to go get it, I think his recall and his anticipation for that is probably what sets D-Law apart. It is hard to teach that, but you teach the looks and this could happen, and he can make it come to life. And I just love that quote from Dan Quinn. I understand, man, that people are mad about prevent defense with Dan Quinn, but I'm just going to make a parenthesis here. There's no better press conference. Mike McCarthy is funny. I'll give him that, man, and I enjoy his press conferences. But hearing Dan Quinn talk football and hearing those press conferences, which if you'll notice, they're usually the longer ones in Dallas, I just love it, man. And the way that he describes D-Law is fantastic. It reminded me a little bit of there's an Ed Reed NFL Network clip somewhere. I remember seeing it someday. And I remember something that, people like to talk about instincts. And I didn't I didn't fulfill my semester at the Scouting Academy. I'm going to come clean to you. I didn't fulfill my semester at the Scouting Academy. It's a lot of work, and I just had a lot going on with college and work and everything. Someday I intend to go back. But they teach you something there right away. I think it's in the first week where they tell you F instincts, right? Do not talk about instincts. Because if you talk about instincts, you make it ambiguous. You don't really know what the word is about. And Ed Reed explains it as, when people talk about instincts, it's just tape. It's just watching film at a tremendous level where it's just stuff that they've seen before. And when you've seen as much tape as these guys have, it seems like it's something special. It seems like it's a gift given from the gods, from the football gods to a player, when it's usually just like, man, I've seen this. And it's like this special intuition to where I've seen a whole lot of this. And now I know this is about to happen. I'm going to go make a play here. Right? And that's what D-Law is. That's what D-Law is for the Cowboys, man. And as long as he's making those plays, the Cowboys run defense is going to look much better than it actually is, because it's getting those goal line stops. It's getting those third down stuffs. It's getting all of that. And, man, I just wanted to take a moment and talk about D-Law tonight and start the show off that way. Let me get into some of the comments, though, if you have something to say about D-Law. I'm looking forward to reading about it. And by the way, if you're here, if you're enjoying the show, hit the thumbs up for me. It helps me put this show in front of more and more Cowboys fans, and I really appreciate you taking the time to hit the thumbs up. We've got Gregory here in the chat. He says, D-Law, class, keep his mouth shut, and shows up every game. And I know we talk about the physicality, and we talk about him wanting to hit people in the mouth. He just doesn't use the word people. He uses something else. But man, I agree. When you start talking about the intellectual side of it, is also pretty cool. Toxic Tom says, Mo looks like the what? The Brawny Man's kid. Toxic, you're going to make me Google this shit. Man, damn. I don't know what to expect. Sometimes there was once in the early primetime days that somebody said that I looked like Chucky's son. And I Googled it. And God, it was not funny. I'm just kidding. Oh, well, I get it because of the shirt. What is this? Oh, it's like a... Why am I getting a Kylo Ren picture? If you Google that, you're going to get the Kylo Ren picture of him. Okay, it's a brand. All right. I see it now. I see it now. Oh, man. Cam says, but it seems to be feeling better now. What? Oh, Cam says, doesn't anybody remember that he broke his foot and after he broke it, he's been quiet? Are we talking about D-Law here? We might be talking about D-Law, but I'm not sure. I don't think that was this year, though. Was it this year? It shouldn't have been this year. But Dilla has been playing great. Like even if you go back to last year, he was still that guy. Peter Rizzo says Dilla is a grown ass man. Toxic says Dilla is consistent chaos. SLH says Dilla still playing like a young man. You got me thinking, SLH. Marcus Lawrence is what? 2014 NFL draft. How old is he? Let's see. 31 years old. Jeez. Damn, Demarcus Lawrence is 31 years old. Holy smokes. In a way, that feels like he's much older than I would have guessed. Well, not really. Not really, because again, like I had the draft right. I just didn't have the age in my mind. But at the same time, it also feels like much younger. Because Dak is 2016 draft and he's 30 years old. So I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know if I feel like, oh, he's older than I thought or younger than I thought. A little bit of an ambivalent feeling there. Ravis is Dila is a beast as well. So we've got a lot of love for Dila in the chat. And hey, I'll take it. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted on tonight's show. For us to love Dila a little bit. And let me tell you why. I was thinking about why he's forgotten. And I was thinking, like, you know what? Maybe it's Micah Parsons stealing most of the spotlight. I know Trevon Diggs is hurt, but he's also like one of the first players that come to people's minds when they're thinking about the Cowboys defense. Daron Bland is making history with his pick sixes, so maybe that's it too. And then I thought, you know what? No, it's not any of that. It is the fact that since 2018, when he had back-to-back seasons with double-digit sacks, the most sacks that he's had in a single season is 6.5. And that is enough for people to go, yeah, he's washed. or he doesn't matter. Or he's solid, but not much else. As long as Demarcus Lawrence is flying under the radar and people are, or offensive coordinators are worrying about Micah Parsons, I don't care about people just overlooking him because of the sack numbers. But Dila is still one of the best defensive ends in the league. If you want to go out there and you want to say he's not one of the best pass rushers, you know what? I'll give it to you. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them in this league. And if you're talking just pass rushing, give me Max Crosby, give me Joey, give me Nick Bosa, give me Micah, give me Myles Garrett, give me all of those guys. But if we're talking about defensive end, overall, including the run game, Dila is one of the very best in the NFL. I don't think there's much discussion. And he makes an impact, too, in the pass rushing department. It's not like he doesn't do any of that. So he's still one of the best in the NFL, and I'm glad we cleared that up tonight. Anyways, that being said, guys, we can move on to the next topics here on the show, and that includes a certain somebody, a certain former Cowboy rejoining the squad.
Yeah, here we go.
And that is La'el Collins, former right tackle, former left guard. He's back in Dallas, signed a deal to the practice squad. Something fell in my house, I think. It was like one of those, power generators that blows up. I don't think generator is the right word. But something blew up. Damn, that's crazy. All right. I just hear dogs barking, but no one in my house is saying anything. So I'm guessing things are fine. Back to the program. Live streaming is a different beast, man. You get all sorts of things thrown your way in the middle of a transformer. Thank you, Holly. I just should have thought in Spanish, and it was transformador. I would have been that far off. Might have been a transformer. I think that's my best theory right now. Anyways, back to the program. La'el Collins signed a deal with the practice squad. He's back. Could be called up at any time. And let me know in the chat, do you like or dislike the addition of Lyle Collins back to the Cowboys team. Because even though he's a practice squad member, he is eligible to play, right? Because they can call him up and do all that. Now, I don't know how to feel about this one. Just like I don't know who Lyle Collins is today. And we are limited in our knowledge to really understand where Lyle Collins is at. Because I'm going to remind you very quickly what happened with Collins. He was off to the Cincinnati Bengals, signed a huge deal with the Bengals, had this famous quote, which said, "I'm your bodyguard." And he told that to Joe Burrow. And then everyone went crazy. And then he kind of underwhelmed a little bit in Cincinnati in 2022. But in week 16, it all came crashing down because he suffered a knee injury, had to have surgery, and now he's just now back for NFL football. He played right tackle for the Bengals, just like he was with Dallas before leaving. I'm going to tell you something, and it's controversial, and I admit I'm just going off by the eye test here. But I remember covering the Bengals last year for ADC Sports, like as a secondary or tertiary beat over the Cowboys. And I don't think Lyle Collins really struggled in a very, very bad way. He was inconsistent and he had some oof moments, right? But he had this game late in the season against the Pittsburgh Steelers, a game that I believe the Steelers were close to winning. I remember they won the first one, but then this one was won by the Bengals, but it was super close. Lyle was holding his own against TJ Watt, man. He really was. I remember watching that, and I don't know what the PFF grades are going to say about that game or anything like that, but it was not a game that TJ Watt broke. And when you're talking about guys of that level, that's what you kind of expect. So if you see a offensive tackle had a decent outing against a guy like TJ Watt, there's something there, in my opinion. And the way that I view this is I'm just not sure you would find an offensive lineman out there for depth with as much upside as Lyle, who did it at a very high level before being banged up. That being said, I can also understand that that is not the Lyle Collins Cowboys starter that I remember. And the key here is that I'm not looking for a starter, right? You and I, we might have some concerns about Terrence Steele, and those concerns are fair. But we don't want Lyle Collins. The Cowboys are not signing Lyle Collins to have him be the right tackle over Terrence Steele. They likely just want him for depth. That's the most likely thing here. And there's some position flex that we could talk about too, because he's played on the right side and on the left side of an offensive line, and he's played both guard and tackle in his career. Early on, he was Dallas's left guard, and then he moved to the right tackle spot, right? So it's kind of those situations where, offensive line depth, everyone wants them. Everyone wants some offensive line depth. There's no question. I know that Cincinnati Bengals fans maybe had a little bit of a thought that Lyle would end up being in Cincinnati even after he was injured. So it's clear that it wasn't, oh, he sucks now. I don't think it was that definitive. I just think Lyle Collins might be banked up. And as long as he's healthy now, Dallas should be in a position where, you know what? You have this guy that could play left guard and he could play right tackle if somebody goes down. And this is a thought that I had, and I might be crazy. You can let me know in the chat, crazy or not crazy. But the Cowboys have seen what life with Chuma Edoga in the lineup is in the event that Tyron Smith goes down, which we don't want, knock on wood. But could we see a situation where Dallas, says, all right, we don't want Chuma in there. We don't want Chuma in there if Tyron goes down. Could we see a situation where if that were to happen, again, knock on wood, maybe this time for real, they kick out Tyler Smith and maybe they have Lyle play at left guard? I don't know. I'm thinking here. He could also play right tackle if need be, but then I'm not exactly sure why you signed him. Because I don't think you would sit Terrence Steele in favor of somebody that you're signing in January. I don't think that's going to happen, right? So he's clearly a depth signing. And where you have your injuries, it's over on the left side with Tyler Smith dealing with a torn plantar fascia, and you are dealing with Tyron Smith, who I saw this hilarious video of Mike Tyson after he fight, and it said Tyron Smith every week, and he was like, "I broke my back." I laughed out loud about that. Uh, I'm with Travis here. He says, "Not crazy at all, but hope that doesn't happen." I'm with you. I hope it doesn't happen, but it's a thought that popped into my head today. Let's see. Toxic says the issues with Lyle have been all of the nonsense of the field. Chuba may not be perfect, but I know he cares and puts in more effort than Collins. I think higher of Lyle Collins. I'm going to be honest with that. I know that there were some of the field like rumors about Lyle's commitment and all that towards his end in Dallas. I think he's a great guy, just based on two things. And I know I don't know the guy, but there are two reasons why I still believe in Lyle's character. One of them is him protecting Dak Prescott when the Commanders took a shot at him late in a play, and then Collins went crazy and went after the guys. Like, I think that kind of stuff matters when you are evaluating how much a dude cares. But also, you know my story about him and Isaac Alarcon. He paid for Isaac's private training when he was trying to stay in the NFL. He paid for those sessions with Duke Manyweather, at least the initial ones. So that tells me that that's a dude that, I'm not concerned about bringing him on, and I'm not concerned about him maybe not caring. I don't know. That's just me, though. Holly says, Mo, do you think we can beat Washington without 77 and 73? I mean, sure, you can, but also I'm not sure if I would be super confident, just because when I've seen the Cowboys without multiple starters on the offensive line, and think back to that week 3 game versus the Cardinals, I've seen Mike McCarthy strip away this offense of all of its explosive plays, of all of its big time stuff or verticality on offense. So no, I don't want to see that. I think if they can go, they will go, especially if you're treating it as, the playoffs have already started, which Mike McCarthy said on Monday, and I think that's a relevant comment to make. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to read some of your comments here, like or dislike. Holly says, I like Lyle Collins signing for depth. If he is better than a starter, then I think we have a problem. LOL. Well said. Very well said. Toxic says, dislike track record of being out of shape and poor character. I don't like bringing back exes. Bruce says, oh boy, did that bodyguard quote get memed so damn hard. It was so fun. David Cowboy says, what about the linebacker? Cowboys also worked out Damon Wilson, another former Cowboy. We haven't received an update though, so maybe not yet. And if somebody is signed, likely going to be to the practice squad and likely going to be called up only in case of injury. All right, guys, let's move on a little bit here on the show, and let's get to the Dalvin Cook conversation. New York Jets running back Dalvin Cook was released by the New York Jets, and now he's available for NFL teams that are looking maybe for a playoff spot, that are looking maybe for a playoff run, a Super Bowl run, if you will. Would you like or dislike Dalvin Cook in the Dallas Cowboys? Let me know in the chat.
Yeah, here we go.
I'm not sure what to make out of this one, man. I'm going to be honest with you. Here are some thoughts, though. Here are some thoughts for you. And actually, oh, damn it, I left my phone in the other room. I had a tweet with some stats that I wanted to go over with you. All right, here we go. Opening up on the computer very quickly. All right, Dalvin Cook. Boy, oh boy. I'm just looking at the chat here and looking at the chaos very quickly. Premier says, hope they sign Cook. Toxic says, dislike, LOL. Carlos Valenzuela says, we could use Cook. Holly says, man, that is hard because I really like Rico, but Cook can go crazy. I have not seen a lot of Jets games. So when that news came across, I was like, heck yeah, Cowboy. you know, especially because Rico is banged up and all that. And I don't know. I don't like the Cowboys' depth at running back. I don't think anyone is in love with the running game. But then I started coming across more data and more opinions on this, and they made me second guess myself. At Clipta here, who does sports analytics, tweeted this out. He said Dalvin Cook has a 3.2 yard per carry, 38% success rate with a long run of 15 yards. He has a bottom 10 lowest yards per carry among all NFL running backs on perfectly blocked runs. So it is not his offensive line. God damn. He's atrocious by every metric imaginable. No, the Browns shouldn't sign him. Just use Pierce Strong more. He's making like the case for the Browns, right? Man, I don't know if those are fireworks, but that sounded again. Might be a zombie apocalypse too. You never know. Gotta be ready. Sorry about that. Back to the program, part 2. I texted my colleague from ADC Sports who covers the New York Jets, and let me read you that text because that was funny. I asked, man, does he suck now or what is going on? And he says, to say anyone sucks running behind the Jets' offensive line is borderline unfair, but he was not good in limited touches. And this is a quote that made me worry. More fumbles than good plays. Yikes. More fumbles than good plays. I think they thought he would be the David Montgomery to Breece Hall's Jahmyr Gibbs, but he cannot do any of that with a terrible O-line and QB. But then you come across that statistic that, you know, on perfectly blocked runs, he has a bottom 10 yards per carry. What the heck's going on out there? That is insane. Anyways, I don't know, man. I don't know what I'm hearing at this point. Might be late fireworks. I'm not entirely sure though. Sorry. Back to the program, part 4. I would bring him in for a cup of coffee, says Gregory, as long as it's not long. Just go watch him. Watch him, says Toxic. He's washed. Mo definitely owns some Cheddars. There you go. Change my mind. Definitely dislike Mo, says Katharina. Yeah, that's more or less where I am at. And John Onik is somebody that I think Gregory, maybe, I'm not sure. Wouldn't be like uncommon, honestly. But anyways, Gregory might be right in the chat. I'm not gonna lie. For those of you who are on YouTube, you can go ahead and read that. He might not be wrong. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyways, sorry for so many interruptions tonight. But let's get back to it. Dalvin Cook, John Owning, somebody that I respect a whole lot, and Cowboys Nation in general should just respect a lot. He is very against signing Dalvin Cook. I just view it as you might need the depth, and if you need the depth, it's somebody that we don't know, or it's Dalvin Cook. And in that case, I'm not going to be upset if they go the Dalvin Cook route, but it's not somebody that I'm going to be pounding the table for. It's not somebody that I'm going to be, jumping and screaming if they do sign him. Oh, Holly's absolutely right. The sounds you hear are the Eagles imploding. That might be the best answer yet. So I like that. I'm going to go with that theory from now on. Anyways, guys, it is Tuesday. So before we get out of here, we're going to go to the one.
Touchdown!
This is the wrong sound effect. Damn it. All right. We're going to go to the one cool thing of the week. For those of you who are new to the show, this is how it works. Every Tuesday night, we have our Feel Good segment. And in it, we share something cool, our one cool thing of the week. And it can be something personal. It can be something professional, sports related, non-sports related, whatever you want it to be. Let me know in the chat. What is your one cool thing of the week? Let's see here. Let's see what you guys have for me. Man, you guys have no chill in the chat sometimes. And the worst thing, guys, I trust you. Like, I'm always about to read some of those comments, and then you catch me off guard. I think insane. But anyways, what is your one cool thing of the week? And then we'll get out of here. My one cool thing of the week is that I'm about to head out and I'm going to see some friends from college, my finance school friends. And it's just like 4 of us. It's going to be fun. Going to be an old school conversation. So I'm looking forward to it. One of our group, Denise, actually lives in Europe now. So I bet she has some crazy stories for us. Looking forward to it. One cool thing is Holly had a blast with my 2 kids for New Year's Eve. Oh, that's fun, man. That is fun. Absolutely. Holidays, obviously part of the one cool thing. Happy New Year. I also had some fun with that. Catherine, this is my one cool thing is we will win the NFC East this weekend. Boom. Bring it, Katharina. This will be my 6th decade, says Peter Rizzo, in a row to watch postseason Cowboys football. Damn, Peter. OG. Let's go. Tom and I 15 says the Cowboys are about to snatch the NFC East crown from them filthy Eagles. That's definitely a very one cool thing. All right, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central. As always, do me a favor and hit the like button for me if you enjoy the show. I'll see you. We'll talk about the Washington Commanders, and we'll talk about what's ahead for the Dallas Cowboys, who control their destiny for the number 2 seed in the NFC. Bye-bye.